Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the R&D Podcast. I am your host, Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about rebounding.
Rebounding. What does that mean?
So just so you know, the original title was going to be a little more hoodish because there is this thing that we have seen quite often, right, in people, is that they are rebounding with their ex's friends group.
With the ex's friends group. I think a lot of the time it's because you've already seen the way that they kind of move, or maybe the way that they looked at you, or maybe the way that he defended you, or, you know, he said, hey, don't talk to her like that. And then you look at him and think, oh my gosh, why can't I be with more, with someone more like him instead of this guy that's a little bit more douchey? And so I think sometimes too, though, when we're talking about the whole rebounding thing, some women are a little malicious, I will say, and they will go right where it hurts. So they're going to go after that favorite cousin, the best friend, the primo, the whatever, and they're going to hit them right where it hurts, because some people are eye for an eye. We always talk about this too, so it's not really necessarily that you're trying to be, as they call it in the hood, homie hopping.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they call it, right? But you're rebounding, and then you're just like, you know what? He did this, well, I'm going to hit him where it hurts, and I'm going to do that. And so
there are people, that they're a lot, they're tit for tat,
oh my
especially
gosh, yeah.
if, like, your husband had an affair, and
Yes.
maybe it was someone in your inner circle, and you're like, oh yeah, I know I could take down his best friend, and that'll hurt him. But then there's also just the sheer psychology side of it, and it's the familiarity.
Yes.
And I think that, there's a lot of movies that portray this. There's a lot of scenarios that you might see in public that portray this. And I think that when you are going into a divorce, and some of the people, we've talked about this, last season, there are certain people that step forward from your ex-partner's life that you would never expect. That they'll say, here, you can cry on this shoulder. If you need anything, I got you. Like, I was in the neighborhood. Are you guys good? Oh, I went to Sam's Club. I'm dropping off, whatever. Like, it's so crazy, the things that
and they act like it's so innocent, right? Like, or they'll say something like, if I would have had a woman like you,
yes,
I would have never treated you that way. You deserve so much better.
It's like a hero complex. Like, they're swooping in to, like, save the day.
And you are sitting there thinking, yeah, I deserve better. And it's like, I would have never treated you like that. And they're like literally implanting themselves in your thought processes of what it would be like to just be with that person. And sometimes I think when we are broken, we don't really know, who we're going to be crutching on, literally, not crushing on, but crutching on, who you're going to use as a crutch to get you to the next place. And I do believe, though, that if you have malicious intent to hurt the person that you are with, I really believe that you need to gut check that, because it always comes back and bites you in the you-know-what.
It does, but if you find yourself in a situation, if you're a woman who's exiting her marriage and the gentlemen that are stepping forward are people in his circle, be it friends, families, whatever, and they're close to him, you just have to remember, no matter how many beautiful words come out of his mouth or actions that he takes, he is still betraying someone that trusts him. Right. And that is your ex-husband. Your husband is someone, that's his friend, that's his family member.
And then here's a kicker to that, right? Because oftentimes, as we talk about this a lot on the podcast, oftentimes, when things do break, women don't usually leave after the first time or second time or third time. Sometimes, there's multiple demises there. And so if this person was in his inner circle as it was, he probably already knew what he was doing too. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's not to be trusted, but really understanding who is his inner circle. I do believe that there are more fish in the sea. I do believe that. I do believe that, if it's someone really close and intimate to your, significant other, you need to watch that. Especially if you're coming or you're moving in a direction or you're moving in a way to get them where it hurts, because I've seen this before. I mean, there is a particular, couple, they were getting ready to get divorced, and her husband still, that even though they're going through this divorce, I mean, he is messaging all her friends. And that is just because he wants to get under her skin to be like, look at all your friends are going to hook up with me. And of course, the guy was well-to-do, so of course he felt like he could do that. And more than likely, the girls were going to comply with the DMs.
Look, I could tell you, like, that actually happened to me, and my ex was not well-to-do whatsoever.
Right.
In his stage of feeling powerless, like everything was crumbling and he was losing everything, he went for it. Like,
Damn.
literally went for it.
That's
with
what I'm saying.
The closest of the closest people that
that's
he
what
could.
happens.
You know, cousins, best friend, another friend. And it's so interesting because I didn't find out from those individuals that he was doing that. I found out from another friend that he did it to her. And then it was just like, okay, when I basically got to hear the phone call, she was nice enough, if you want to say that, to say, hey, he's wanting to get me on a phone call. I'm wanting to block him. What do you want to do? I said, get him on the call. Let me know what he says. Because I felt like if she was willing to tell me.
I want to hear it.
And so she said, you want to be on the call? And I said, you know what? Sure. Because it was like literally a month. We were like in it.
Oh, so you're fresh. This is fresh blood.
Fresh. Like,
fresh
he wasted
blood.
0%
He's like, I'm going to get out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out to,
I don't like that.
Listen to the spiel. And I was like, oh, it's an interesting story he's telling. Did not interrupt the call. He had no idea I was on it.
Yeah.
And then I took that. It hurt. But I accepted it. And when I tell you that when I eventually confronted him and told him, and then he said, oh, were you on the call with so-and-so too, and with so-and-so too? So here came the names of all these individuals that I no longer associate with. And so if you're watching this podcast, peace out. But I will tell you, like, you just never know. And if you're a woman and this is happening to you, and your ex-husband is literally being like, what do they call it, like a fox in the hen house or a wolf in the hen's house, whatever, like, take it as a blessing, by the way, because if your ex can take down your so-called friend, that's not your friend. You just had to find out in a very difficult way.
Yeah. I definitely think that, you know, when you are going through, you know, the fresh blood, I mean, they're going to come out of the woodwork and you're going to get the DMs and people are just going to, like you said, you know, send you flowers. I'm sorry that this is happening. And if you ever want to go out to dinner, let me know. And so a lot of the time, I think that, you know, unfortunately, you might look at it as it being innocent, but in reality, is it being innocent? You know, I know that recently I had a conversation with someone that was like, hey, in my old previous colleagues' inner circle, and was like, hey, I'm going to be in the area. I'd love to stop by and see my nieces. And to me, I'm just like, and it's been a long time. And I said, well, if you ever want to see your nieces, go ahead and let their dad know.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, because I'm not the one. And respectfully, I just feel that if you feel that you have to get at people in that regard where you're like eye for an eye, I'm telling you, like, the world will end up blind. And so I think it's important that you kind of gut check that and understand that, you know, when they say there's plenty of fish or whatever, I don't even know if there's plenty of fish on the sea, but I believe that there.
We got an oil spill.
It kind of smells a little fishy out here, but there is.
But you have to know too that I think there are some men that inherently go for low hanging fruit, and I think that there's quite a few men that understand, oh, this person was going through a breakup, and they know that you're vulnerable, and they know that they have a hero complex, you guys.
For sure.
So don't be overly flattered by it all. And also, if you don't care, then you don't care.
Yeah.
And if you know that this person's a really good guy, I told this, we talked about this last season.
Yeah.
This exact topic, but you know, in respect to the homie hopping thing or the, you know, rebounding with the friend, I think that you just have to understand that. My thing is like, ooh, if you're willing to betray your friend, granted, I'm mad at your friend right now. Your friend, literally, I'm divorcing your friend. But that doesn't mean that that's a good look for you to, like, betray him with me. Like, we're not on the same page as that, with that, you know? So I think if, like, you're not going to accept it from the person that you just left, why would you accept it from, like, their friends group? Betrayal is betrayal is betrayal. And I think what people tolerate in others is what they tolerate for themselves. They give themselves permission or justify what they're doing, you know? So I think it's really important to do that, but I will say that, like, I get it because it's familiar. These are people that maybe you hung out with them for 10, 20 years.
Right.
You know?
And they already know, like, the inner stories or the stories that most people would know. And, you know, when you're getting to know someone, it's like, it's always, in my opinion, the trivialities, right? What do you like to eat? And where do you like to go? And what's your favorite color?
It's like a job interview.
Yeah, and so when you already know, you know, this person, it's so much easier to collaborate stories, you know, talk about different events that took place, how that person made you feel when you saw him, how you always thought he was handsome, or how, you know, you always thought she was pretty, whatever the case may be. And, you know, it's one of those things, like Rachel just said, it's like it feels familiar, like I have already known this guy for a very, very long time. And I will say, though, you know, it's kind of this devil's advocate side to me that I, you know, kind of gotta come at, in my opinion. I do feel that sometimes, though, you're gonna hear the stories of, you know, it was the best friend, and then you get married, and then you guys it's just the best thing since sliced bread, you know, since apple butter. And so sometimes that happens too. And I just think it's just being really intentional with what's the game plan? Are you doing it just to get under his belt? Like, are you doing it just to like,
and
low
here's
blow
the
him?
Thing, women, like we're just so different than men. And there was a story that...
I mean, some women are freaking vindictive,
they
though.
are. But women inherently, if they're going to fall for the former friend or whatever, or the ex's best friend or whatever, they might be coming at it from a familiar, romantic, he values me in a way that my husband didn't. But I will tell you, for a man, they are hunters, and what that looks like, and they're competitive. And there is something about them in the man's world, in their little jungle world, that they're like, yeah, I could take down what he has, I could take it down. And there's something about it. They're very competitive with each other. There's someone that, came forward recently and, was going through a divorce, and someone from her, ex-husband's life, camp, wealthy guy, came around the outside, kind of sensed that there was trouble in paradise because of whatever, and maybe a rumor, and he just circled around with a simple little message. She was like, oh, hey, because no big deal, right? Because someone,
we've known each other.
I'm going to send you this, I'm going to send you that, I'm going to send you here, and I'm going to send you there. And it's like, what is this? But the great thing, though, was this individual later admitted that it was more like to feed his ego, because he always knew he could have her. Like, he never understood why she was with the friend. So guys have this other thing going on. I think it's like a competitive
ego thing.
To be able to walk around knowing like
if I really wanted to, I could take her. Or
if I really wanted to, I could. And so they have that too. So that's what I think makes it so complicated.
I think so too. But I definitely think that if you have to really gut check your motives. If you're doing it to get under his skin, if you're doing it because you want to get back at him.
Or if he's doing it to be competitive with your ex. Somehow.
Right. Somehow. I think you have to gut check your motives at the end of the day. And if it's for that reason, I think that you need to back out. Because let me tell you something. I'm not here to say what your karma is going to be like, because I'm not the one to say. But I definitely think that when you're moving in that regard, it's going to bite you. And you know what?
Yeah. So, and, I think that, sometimes it could be to mask... to avoid the difficulties of being alone.
That's true.
In the very, very beginning, especially.
Yeah, for sure.
Or avoid the the ick of having to start getting back out there again and meeting new people. Because just the idea of being married 10, 12, 20 years, whatever, and then having to get to know somebody brand new again is so tough. It's a very tough thing. It is tough,
for sure.
So I think, understand the temptation of it. That makes sense, or it's easy, or they get you, like Delia was saying. But I think it goes so much deeper than that, and I think you kind of have to run the other way. Yeah,
I mean, unless you feel that this person, was the missing puzzle piece to your life, and I think at that point, if you're not doing it with malicious intent, it literally is free flowing. It feels very loving, and both of you guys are coming from a loving place. I'm not saying that it's okay per se, but I think if both people understand you guys are out of the marriage and no one's cheating on each other. I think you have to gauge. Fair game. You have to kind of gauge it. I mean, if it's his cousin, I don't know, man. That seems very Jerry Springer to me. It really does. It just seems like it's going to be a lot of problems for Christmas, the holidays. Come on out. Pass the smashed potatoes. Everyone's throwing the bread box, but it's not passing. It's everyone's throwing the bread around. I really do believe that you got to gauge that, because at the end of the day, if it's a very close immediate family member,
which is so common. It is so scary common. It is we should actually put that down as another topic, because it is for sure so common.
Yeah, I'm not with that whole thing. I've seen it firsthand, literally, and I really don't advise that. But at the end of the day, you only die once. So if it feels right, you think you're gonna this is your your person, then who am I to judge?
And I'm judging, and I'm saying, don't do it.
I'm saying, who am I to judge? So you want to do Jerry Springer during the holidays, do your thing.
Jerry it up.
Anyway, so that's all I got.
Cheers.